And welcome into To Your Health. You know, as we start to age, we start to find out that we're in a world where we have a lot of sensory things coming into our mind and into our body. And we start to realize the fact that maybe we're getting a little bit anxious and maybe we're getting a little bit disoriented. Carl Schmidt's here from the Herb Shop, and you know, we talk about the kids. They're all over the place. Adults can be all over the place too, can't they?
Right. Well, a situation or a diagnosis is attention deficit disorder or hyperactivity, and we often think that that's a childhood issue. It's often detected early with maybe preschool or early grade school. But actually adults can have attention deficit disorders and not recognize that. And the symptoms could manifest as depression or anxiety when in reality the root is attention deficit disorder. What happens is it's our kind of stress and burden of responsibilities. We begin to start getting distracted more easily, and we can't stay on task. We become more disorganized. We may clutter. We may be grumpy and irritable and almost vindictive. There's a lot of traits that can be symptoms that are warning signs of that. And so the mechanism is to be more deliberate in making journal entries of what you're kind of doing during the day, tracking progress on things, and then reflecting on what you were thinking maybe or what you weren't thinking about, kind of a lot of self-analysis. And if you can confide in somebody, a spouse or a counselor, that can help you recognize these little issues before they become a bigger problem. Because it's so important to nurture the brain, and then other bad habits like caffeine or alcohol can accelerate this problem and make it go into a more spiral downward to really create complications. And so recognizing the smallest issues early and getting the right aid to help. And there are supplements that improve concentration, memory, and recall. And there's a number of different common ingredients, from B vitamins to trace minerals to different lipids or oils, that help the brain function better and increase that focus and attention. But getting a good night's sleep is a big piece of the puzzle. Many people, will lay and stare at the ceiling because they're processing so much of what happened during the day and what they've got to do the next day, and their mind races. And even digestive health, how our body processes food. The intestinal barriers and sequencing of how food gets assimilated can either help your frame of mind or hurt your frame of mind. So there's lots of moving parts on mental health and mental issues. And we have a service called neurofeedback, where we have a process called mapping. We have a way to read 12 different locations on the brain, the power source. So different areas of the brain help with deductive reasoning and cognitive processing, verbal skills, mathematic skills, and anxiety or depression. And so we have an optimal level of voltage at those designated locations, and then we can do what's called entrainment to help the brain move into the right pattern and help the brain get into the ranges it needs to do. And a certain trauma in a person's life can be kind of sequestered subconsciously for decades, and then other events can trigger that you don't actually know what's happening, but subconsciously that's something happened. And that's called the limbic system. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and they find that people who have had some level of trauma, and it may have not been traumatic to the level you think of trauma, but it may have been how a person perceived or dealt with something with their capacity at the time. And then they kind of just kind of toughed up and moved on, but something's still bothering them. They haven't released that. So sometimes it's just that connection with people is missing, or they may need counseling, or they may need nutritional supplements, improve their diet and hydration, all these factors that are just good, healthy measures. And they may need something, a technique or service like neurofeedback.
And it could be the fact that you had a spouse or somebody close to you in your family pass away. So they pass away, and obviously you start off by having to deal with it. You say, okay, I'm dealing with it. But then, like you're saying, maybe 6 years or 8 years down the road, that's when it's going to start to affect you more.
Right.
Because it's been dormant in there, and it's kind of
We have almost two brains. We have a subconscious brain and a conscious brain. So we make thousands of decisions every day through our routine that are kind of subconscious. We just, because we brush our teeth or get out of bed, whatever we do, and put socks on and shoes on. We don't really think about little details like that, but then we think about what we have to get done or more deliberate things. But our subconscious is running sometimes negative talk or self-defeating attitudes can be kind of a record player in your head that's going round and round, and you're kind of pushing those down sometimes. But that could be because of a trauma or grief or some situation. And by simple things is writing positive affirmations and reading those through the day. Many people will have a positive note on their mirror or somewhere where they can see that frequently to kind of encourage themselves, because the world can beat you down, and sometimes you have to be your own best advocate.
And of course, nowadays, you can have 24/7 news.
Right.
And there's no good news.
Yeah, bad news sells, good news doesn't usually sell.
Amen.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of difference.
Right.
So basically, you can get the test, but you sometimes when this is all happening, it can be a mineral deficiency.
Right. Right. So we do a test called the oligoscan, which uses a technology called spectrometry that measures minerals and the balance of how you control sugars, which many minerals help regulate sugars, and other minerals like lithium is very commonly known for how the brain can swing from overexcited to underexcited. And so regulating the right lithium levels, and we get overexposed to lithium through batteries and many common electronics. So it's important to recognize the balance of the right minerals. Too much or too little can cause some of the same problems. And then B vitamins are how your body runs on the fuel for the brain actions. And just self-evaluation and then connection with others, that if you feel like you need to justify a certain behavior that's really not acceptable, then you need to kind of hold yourself accountable and step back and go, okay, maybe there's something I haven't dealt with in the past, and try to reconnect and move forward.
And at the herb shop, obviously, you could have different kinds of tests done.
Yes.
And find out where you're going.
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you, Carl. The herb shop is on Vaughan Road. It's in the Pepper Tree Shopping Center, 10 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, Monday through Saturday. It's worth a visit. We'll be right back right after this.